Hello YouTube, Sidekick here in my A10A Hawg, and once again, I'm on the hunt. So this is the third in a series of videos about hunting in the Hawg on the Cold War battlefield. Now, the first one was about how to fight the Shilka, which is probably your most dangerous enemy on that battlefield. The second was how to fight the more common threat, which is the Man-Pads missile. This one is really about how to finally feast on your real prey, which are formations of Warsaw Pact armored vehicles. Large formations of Warsaw Pact armored vehicles. Now, by the way, if you're one of those people who changes the channel when the wolves catch the defenseless deer after separating it from the herd, now would be a good time to turn away, because it's going to get ugly. So here's the setup. We are out as a single, a solo, with another element of A-10s that are flown by the AI. Now, ahead of us is a motor rifle battalion on the march. That motor rifle battalion is protected by Man-Pads missiles. We have to find a way to defeat or neutralize the SAMs so that we can attack the motor rifle battalion column and kill as much of it as possible. We are not here to just take out a few vehicles with standoff weapons. We are here to leave as much of that motor rifle battalion burning on the field of battle as we possibly can. So, if you have been following this channel for a while, you know that I've been spending a bunch of time on a sort of Cold War campaign setting, I guess let's call it, which I call The Balloon Goes Up. This is set in the early 1980s in a Warsaw Pact invasion of the Federal Republic of Germany. Now, if you want to know more about the whole setting, there's a whole playlist. I'll link that up above. In particular, you may want to look at the video about the Warsaw Pact threat, because it basically describes what we're going to find out here today in terms of the enemy. Our target is a motor rifle battalion. If you've watched the video, you'll know that that consists of 3 combined arms companies of APCs and tanks, along with an artillery battery and a headquarters element, totaling around 70 vehicles. They're going to be protected by up to 9 Man-Pad systems. Those systems are usually deployed in detachments of 3. The motor rifle battalion is in a column of route formation, so let's assume there's a second echelon battalion moving forward to reinforce an assault that's already underway. We know that their task is to keep driving forward no matter what and keep the pressure on the NATO defenders. Our job is to stop them or disorganize them. To do that, we're armed with high-drag bombs. We have a total of 2 Maverick missiles as well, and we have about 1,100 rounds of 30mm ammunition. We're not intending to bring very much of that home. Alright, it sounds like things are starting to get interesting down there. Infield 1 is engaging the enemy and being engaged in turn, so it's our turn to do something about those Man-Pads. Okay, now that the fur is really flying, just got a couple more things I want to say about this video and basically how it's made and what's kind of going on here. It's true of all of these hunting the hog videos that I've been making. The first thing for you to realize is they're not really full fidelity scenarios. They're really meant to be training missions That can be done solo or like with a single wingman, because to really get the flavor of the balloon goes up battlefield, I basically figured out you need to fly with 4 or maybe even 8 players. Okay, well, the balloon is truly going up here. Got a couple of more man pads in the air, attacking RT Fischl and his wingman there. Okay, it looks like our first site that we just attacked does seem to be quiet right now. It hasn't taken a shot at us, even though we gave it an option. So we are going to take a chance here and fly it pretty much directly over it to focus on this second man-pad site. Let's hope we were right that it's down. Now I need to get them lined up, and I want to drop a string of bombs across them. It appears that I'm a little bit to the left of the target. And it appears that I didn't have as many bombs on that selection as I expected to. That's a bad ordnance management on my part. I only had single bombs on the outer pylons, and they were on a different, they're set up differently than the ones on the center pylons. I only dropped one bomb and it was in the wrong place. That's not good. Okay, well, I'm getting myself sorted out. Let me just finish what I was saying. I discovered pretty early on that to do a really full fidelity scenario in the balloon goes up universe requires a fair bit of preparation and getting a lot of guys on the same page, and that's something that's hard to come by in DCS. And I think I also discovered, and others did too, that big scenarios like that are a lot of fun, but they're not always the best learning experiences, because there's so much going on. You can't really focus on the stuff that you realize you don't do well because you're so busy trying to manage the chaos around you. So I made these missions so I could practice some of the basic skills without quite as much confusion, and so I could basically fly them whenever I wanted to without having to find a group of guys to fly with. Okay, so I am rolling in and going to practice one of those skills, which is strafing. I think I've had enough time playing with the man pads. I don't think we killed that second one, but I know where it is, and I know where the main or where some of the column of vehicles are, and I think I can get at them without exposing myself to that guy. So we're taking on the rear of the column with a strafing attack.
Pull up.
All right, first blood to us. We may have taken out some man pads, didn't see them, but I can definitely tell you we have some secondaries down there from that strafing attack. Okay, now's probably a good time to talk about some tips and tricks for strafing in the Hawg. These are based on a video that I saw about how USAF pilots were taught to strafe ground targets in World War II, which was really the last time the United States Air Force really embraced that role, so I think the basics haven't changed all that much. To this basic guidance, I have added some trial and error experience of my own, which is limited, so your mileage may vary. The first tip is that you need to try and aim for a dive angle of around 15 to 20 degrees. Shallower than that, it's hard to keep the pattern tight and keep the sight over your target. Higher than that, and your target window gets kind of small, and the pullout becomes a bit of an issue. So this is not a bad run right here. This is about what you're looking for.
Altitude.
So now the second tip, which hopefully you see me practicing here, is that you really got to get close with the gun, like really close. The gun has a range of 2 nautical miles, but it's not really effective for about 2/3 of that range. You can use it if you need to for standoff, for something like a Shilka, but really, to be more effective, and you need to be effective if you're going to get a good kill ratio, you got to get close. And you will use less ammunition, and you'll cause more damage if you are firing close to the enemy. I mean, and for some targets like tanks, you really can't be effective beyond like 400 to 500 yards, which is like 3/4 of a nautical mile. So get it down to below a nautical mile before you open up. And the final tip really is that it only takes a few rounds to kill a lot of these vehicles, so don't waste your bullets. Get the pipper on, give it a quick burst, and move on. As remember, we're here to cause maximum disruption for minimum ammo expended. Those were 3 not bad passes. I can say where I've gotten to with strafing is I know the difference between a good pass and a bad pass. I'm not always able to do a good one, but at least I know when I'm being effective. Now, I think I'm going to stop strafing right now because I'm just getting a little concerned as I move up from the rear of that column that I'm getting closer and closer on my egresses to that, where that SAM site was. I think I know where it is, so I'm going to go take another pass at that in the hopes of at least keeping their heads down before I go back to taking out some vehicles. And taking the SAM site out means maybe I can attack more the front of the column, which I really would like to do. So I think he's in this group of trees here. I got my weapons set up properly this time, so I can drop some eggs all the way through that wood line. And that looks like a better distribution of bombs than the last one. Now, hopefully, that is going to keep his head down. And I can say that because I am actually running the fire suppression script in the background, which means that when infantry units are damaged, it means that they take a little break from engaging you for a while, which I think is a fair thing to say about SAMs. It's really not necessarily about killing them, it's about preventing them from wanting to engage you. So, okay, hopefully he's down. We got to keep an eye, make sure we don't get launched on again. But now let's go after some of the front of this column, because after all, what we're trying to do is slow them down, not just roll them up from the back. Okay, that was okay. Going to go around again, see if I can get even closer to the front of the convoy. But you can see I'm extending out this way. I know the SAM site is behind me. This is a little bit dangerous, since flying straight away from a SAM site is often a recipe for disaster. But I'm also staying low to use the ground to hopefully give me some cover, make it harder for him to get a bead on me. And now I'm going to come back up. I'm coming up a little higher on this pop-up. I'm not too worried because I'm out here where we haven't seen any SAMs. And I'm going to try and line up some vehicles at the front of this column and maybe at least slow down its progress. Stay a bit level, trying to get them underneath my 15-degree bar there before I dive in on them. Bearing in mind that SAM is off to my right front, I'm going to stay low, get down in the ground here. I'm flaring all the time, just trying to make it harder for him to engage me if he's actually able to. Okay, still not really happy with how open that that approach is, so I'm going back to the back of the convoy again, getting a little bit of AAA. Not too worried about that. I'm just going to get down here to the rear of the convoy and pop up again and start harassing them from the rear. Got to start trying to figure out where the high value parts of this motor rifle battalion are. We really do want to be using our rounds where they're most effective. Now, high value would be headquarters units, so big truck vans, artillery units. There's got to be an artillery battery in there somewhere, and also tanks. So, you know, trying to get a good look at what we're shooting at as we get close, it's probably a good idea.
Pull up.
Not having much luck finding them right now. Those look like trucks, and it does look like they're stationary, which is a good thing. That's where we want them to be, is standing still. Okay, there's one more thing I just wanted to say about flying solo. The problem with flying solo is you're missing a very critical element of situational awareness, which is a wingman to watch your tail and tell you when the SAMs launch. Remember, manpads almost always launch on you when you are going away, so you absolutely need somebody watching your tail. So, to replicate that, I did insert a small script that generates those SAM launch warnings that you keep hearing. It is admittedly a bit of a cheat, and one that's it's a little bit too easy to get dependent on, I will tell you that. But without it, you really can't practice good tactics, so you absolutely need to know when you've been launched on, and you need to figure out how to react to that. And also, more to the point, you need to know when you're not being launched on so that you can actually be free to use your most effective weapon, which is the cannon. Which is what we're doing now, and while we're doing that, I just wanted to talk briefly about one other thing, which is you know, a really important thing to learn if you're going to be a hog driver is you got to learn how to use the ground, and I'm trying to do that here, and I'll just say a little bit more about it after I get this run done. Get turned over. So I'm trying to use good iron bombing tactics here, the old put the lift vector on the target. This is a slightly steeper run than I've been doing. I'm just trying to find a good target, line up on it, stay lined up, get close, give it a squirt, find another one, give it a squirt, and then around we go. So by using the ground, what I mean is that you really have to think of the terrain as part of your battlefield. You're not just flying over it. You need to use it for cover and concealment. You need to use it so that the enemy either can't see you, or can't acquire you, or can't hit you if they want to fire at you. And then you need to figure out how to move around the terrain so that you find, so you can stay covered and concealed, move to a place where the enemy is vulnerable or is not expecting you to attack from, and then basically, you know, seize the high ground, which you can do anytime you want to by just popping up and then deliver your attack from an unexpected direction, or at least from an effective direction, which, for armored vehicles, you know, is from behind, if you can manage it. And this was not a very good run. This is what happens when you get too shallow. It's just really hard to be accurate. I think we did still manage to smoke a couple of them there. Okay, well, pretty much taking care of the rear part of that motor rifle battalion. I feel like it's time to start moving on. We're also down to around 500 rounds, cannon rounds, so we're at, you know, a little bit more than halfway through our loadout. So maybe now it's time to use up some of the rest of our ammunition here. Now, normally we reserve the Mavericks and the bombs for taking out SAM sites, and I think we're reasonably safe. And just listening to that, I think we're reasonably safe now. I'm not seeing any more SAM launches, even with Artificial hanging out over the middle of the AO. He's not getting launched on, so I'm reasonably comfortable that we have neutralized the SAMs. So I think I'm going to use up my other ammunition now. I got 2 Mavericks on board, and I also still have some high drag bombs that can do some damage. So let's deploy those before we finish off this mission with the rest of our cannon rounds. Alright, well, before we do that, let's just nicely set up here for one last run on the rear of the convoy here. Whoa, that was maybe a little close to the trees. That's really using the ground. Okay, I think it's time to get a little bit more standoffish here. So I'm going to bring my Mavericks into play. Going to take a little bit a longer detour down the backside here. Again, staying low. Just don't want to expose myself to any more observation or fire than I have to. I'm just going to go down here a ways, and I'm just going to turn around, and I'm really not going to be very selective. There's lots of targets out there. They just need to get the Mavericks locked onto something, but I want to look for stuff that's on the other side of that tree line they're going through. Start trying to intercept some of the vehicles that have already moved past my killing zone here. Alright, so just coming around. I'm well back. I'm not worried about the SAMs we found, at least back here, so I don't mind getting up a little higher. Just going to get rolled out and then see if I can get a target. It's not going to be hard to find one. Yeah, there's one. And rifle. And breakaway. So again, haven't seen anything of either of the SAMs that we took on, but doesn't mean they're not there. So best to stay away from them once you've been able to locate them. And again, I sort of count that as you learning how to use the ground. Figure out, you know how the enemy is structured. You know what a motor rifle battalion is like. You know what air defense assets it carries. Once you've figured out where most of them are, now mind you, there might be a third dead out there that we haven't found, so we can get too complacent, but Once you figured out where they are, then run your battle around that. And they're not going to pop up at random. These things are done according to a plan. If you understand the plan, you can understand how to be effective at countering it. Okay, let's try and get even farther out into the bowl out there. Try and get something a little bit farther forward in the convoy, just to cause a bit of disruption at the head of the convoy. And that's our last Maverick, but this time let's take a run on these guys who are just coming out of the wood line there. And let's get rid of the rest of those high drag bombs.
Altitude, altitude.
Happy with those results. So once again, I'm staying low as I egress. Just want to make sure I'm not making myself a target if I don't have to. I'm flaring as much as I can. Fortunately, in the A model, it's hard to figure out if you get flares left. I hope I still do. Okay, well, let's switch our focus back to the front of the convoy. We haven't got all that much ammo left, so let's use up some of it trying to take out the lead elements of this motor rifle battalion. Okay, well, first, just because I'm feeling really lucky, I'm going to take some of these guys just on the other side of this tree line. Now, I say this is, I'm taking some chances here because this is flying straight at that SAM site that we hope we've neutralized.
Altitude.
So this is really kind of an acid test of that. So I'm definitely going out of here low. Again, I'm trying to get the ground between me and that SAM site as quickly as I can. So I really got to stay low. You got to remember in DCS, at least trees don't help all that much because the AI can see through them. Now, missiles can't fly through them though, so getting below the treetops does help. And again, we didn't get launched on, so I'm feeling pretty good that that site's either pretty seriously depressed or we've taken it out entirely. But let's go a little bit farther into the front of this motor rifle battalion and see if we can slow them down. Again, I know where the SAMs are likely to be. I'm trying to stay low and keep them off to the side rather than straight behind, and give myself some separation from them. I'm thinking through all of that as I decide where to fly. So popping up from this side, I feel really reasonably safe over here. The egress is going to be the problem because I am going to be pointed straight at that potential SAM site on egress. So I'm going to want to turn quickly. We've got a little bit of AAA coming up. Doesn't really bother the Hawg all that much.
Pull up, pull up.
All right, well, we got that guy. So let's go this way.
Pull up.
Away from that SAM site and also where we have a chance to go downhill. Because this is down into 5th Avenue, so I know there's a hill here that I can get down over. So even though I'm presenting my tail to that SAM site, I'm trying to get below the crest of the hill, using the ground to my advantage. All right, well, we only have enough ammo for maybe, we could probably hang around for a couple of passes, but I'm feeling like our job is about as done as it's going to get today. So I'm probably going to take one more pass on the front of the convoy. Again, just try to slow down the lead elements of that motor rifle battalion, and then we're going to call this job done, and we'll take a look at exactly what we were able to accomplish. Got another secondary down there, that's good. So SAM site's off to my right, going to brake left and low as hard as I can as soon as I get a chance, but we want to get nice and close, use these last rounds as effectively as we can. Alright, well, we're down under 300 rounds. It's probably okay to come home with that many on board. And we are getting chased out of town with a little AAA, so maybe we've pushed our luck just far enough today. there's a lot of smoke out there. Some of it was there before we started, but I think there's a fair bit of it that we can claim to have caused, which I think makes this a pretty good day in terms of kill ratio. So maybe we should just end the mission and see what DCS has to say about what we have managed to accomplish. Okay, well, here's the after-action report, and I set it up to just look at kills that we caused. That's a pretty extensive list. Let me see, how many does that amount to? I'm not sure that the information there is just us. I think I need to flip that switch to show just my results to get the actual numbers. So let's go over here. Yeah, let's go over here, turn that. All right, 24. So 24 kills for some minor damage to the Hawg. I think that's a pretty good kill ratio. If you want to give this mission a try and see how you do, come and find it on my Discord channel. And for now, this is going to be Sidekick, signing off.